What if a simple game of truth or dare turned into a murder investigation? Could you trust your partner if every clue pointed towards someone you cared about? How far would you go to uncover the truth if the killer was always one step ahead? And what happens when solving the case means risking your own heart? Today, we're diving into murder, mystery, enemies to lovers, and a thriller that kept me guessing until the very end. Hi, babes. Systems Live, feed is open. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about Dare You to Death. Dare You to Death is a Thai BL mystery thriller that follows a deadly case beginning after college student Poi Phai dies during what was supposed to be a harmless night of partying and games with her friends. As secrets start to surface and the truth behind that night becomes more complicated, 7 students find themselves connected to a dangerous game where every choice could have deadly consequences. Let's get into our characters. We have Captain Jade, a charismatic police captain who relies on instinct just as much as evidence. Jade is confident, witty, and fearless in the field, but beneath his playful exterior is someone deeply protective of the people he loves. His chemistry with Common is undeniable from the very beginning. We have Inspector Common, a newly transferred inspector who's disciplined, logical, and by the book. Common initially clashes with Jade's impulsive style, but as they work together, he begins to see there's more to Jade than first impressions suggest. Now, because this show has such a large cast that becomes more important as the show continues, I'm not going to list all of them here. I will kind of just introduce the characters as we continue on into the show as they show up. It would be way too much to try and do all of that right here, and they're not all important throughout the entirety of the show, so I don't see the point in naming all of them right at the beginning. You guys can get them as I got them. Okay. We open to a clock past midnight at what I can only assume is a party, because they have party favors and drinks going around. And if people who don't know what party favors are, that is basically just slang for drogas. Okay, that's what people call them here, so we don't have to say what they actually are. Okay, gotcha, got me. Okay, perfect. Let's continue. Group is playing truth or dare. Clock comes back into view and we can see it's around like 4 a.m, and suddenly someone is screaming fight. One of the girls isn't waking up, and it dawns on the group that this girl is dead. We move to see someone in a chase. Turns out to be one of our main leads, Jade, a cop. He was chasing someone over some drugs. They received a call about our group of kids who lost their friend, and Jade has to investigate. While on the way to the site, Jade runs into an asshat driver who actually happens to be our other main lead, Kamen. Inspector Kamen. Of course, they don't know each other at the moment, so Jade just thinks this guy is basically a piss poor driver and even issues him a ticket. So, can't wait to see how that blows over at the scene of the crime. Once on the scene, we get the rundown of what happened, and they head inside to, surprise, meet the new inspector, which of course leads to Jade mentally kicking himself for issuing a ticket to him. Of course, now the two are butting heads and decide to make a wager on who can solve the case faster. The wager may have been a bit of a mistake, because as they head back into the station, Jade runs into a problem. Apparently, Jay, his brother, is one of the 7 people who is now a suspect in the homicide of their friend, Phai. Inspector Kamen goes in to interrogate all 7 of the suspects. The stories are as follow, as well as the characters. We have Jay. They were partying as usual, and one friend wanted to leave. Two others convinced them not to, and they got back to the party. They were playing Truth or Dare, and suddenly everyone started dropping like flies. Slowly, everyone was knocked out until Jay was the last one to fall asleep. When he woke up, Poi Fai was already gone. Next is Time. He bought the liquor, however, he didn't mix them. He didn't make the drinks that night. That was a different friend. He left to get more ice when they ran out, and on the way back, he saw Chidin and Champ arguing. And please bear with me with the names. These ones are, some of them are a little bit tougher than others. Making assumptions, they believe that the two were arguing about Fai. And he points the finger at our next person, Belle. She called the ambulance first before the cops and didn't believe that drinking could kill, which, come on now, because drinking is a very common mechanism of taking people out. So you know that they're lying. Apparently, one of the friends was scared to call the cops, which is why the ambulance was the first call. That scared friend did lots of drugs, which of course would make him skittish. However, she does point the finger at this next friend, Tar. Although he was knocking back the party favors like fucking candy, he says Belle was the one that didn't want to call, not him. Apparently, she put hands on a junior. So, obviously, doesn't want to make the call. Next person is Tonkla, the one that mixed the drinks, except when he went to the bathroom, which, bitch, why the fuck does that matter? Like, men pee in like a minute, so it couldn't have been the most eventful bathroom trip in the world, you know? He and Time went first to set up the room, then followed by Jay, Belle, Chiden, and last to arrive were Champ and Pui Fai. Truth or Dare started, Time was out first, then Belle. However, he believes it was Champ that killed his own girlfriend. Next, Champ. This nigga already pissed me off. I'm just gonna start with that. It's obvious he's a pretentious little rich prick who doesn't care about anyone but himself. He literally spent most of the interrogation on his fucking phone, bitch. On his fucking phone. Ain't even shed a tear for his poor deceased girl. Like, that was your bitch, nigga. Like, the fuck? You didn't even shed not even one tear. Oh, and then he had the audacity to get up and try to leave before the interrogation was finished. Really? Come on now. Last but not least, Chidin. She gives us insight into Champ and Pui Fai's relationship. Champ was the popular one, and Fai was his arm candy. Fai also took sleeping pills pretty frequently, apparently, because it seems this isn't new information to any of them. She also had stomach ulcers. Once everyone realized what happened and calmed down, that was when the ambulance was finally called. The interrogations are ended due to a parent barging in upset about his son being arrested, which, to be fair, none of them were arrested, because if they were, they couldn't have those fucking phones they were all so happy to be fucking on during the interrogation. They were just brought in for questioning. Of course, it was Champ's little punk ass father, who is of some importance. I don't entirely know who he is. I don't remember. I know that they said it. I don't remember. He wasn't important to me, so I didn't remember him. Something with the government, I think. I don't fucking care. His father basically got him out of there. After the whole ordeal, Jade and Common take Jay out for some food. We learn the friend group was a bit problematic. During their freshman year, Tar hit on Phi, but Champ came in to fix the situation and help keep the group together. Back at the station, Common is given a drug distribution case that he also has to work on. He sets up in his new office and reveals that he believes one of the kids is lying. All of them are lying. Every single one. Also, letting in on how he thinks Tar is the worst liar of them all, which, yes, I agree, he was jumpy the whole fucking time. We moved to Tar at his place as he received an envelope with Truth or Dare on the front, and the games begin. This shit's like fucking Clue, bitch. And if y'all don't know what Clue is, it's basically a murder mystery game that you can play at home. It also has its own movie, a couple of movies, I think, but it's a like board game you can play at home with friends. With Jade and Common, they discuss a club called Drink Me that may help give them answers to both cases. They go to the club and Jade is trying to blend in. However, Common he not having none of it. However, as the night continues, the act will have to continue because it does help them blend in. They manage to get the drug bust, and as we are heading out, Common gives Jade a citation so he doesn't drive home after drinking. They end up heading back to Common's place and enjoy a few drinks together, and it's clear there's something there, but they are just teasing us right now. Tar opens up the truth or dare he receives, and it throws him into a state of panic. He calls Champ thinking it was his doing, but Champ doesn't know what he's talking about. With Jade and Kamen, we find out the group was drugged with midazolam. They flirt with each other a bit. As they get a bit closer, our investigation gets deeper. We meet with Dr. Puth, who performs the autopsy on the first victim, Poi Fai. The autopsy results come back and she had 3 substances in her blood, which I won't bore you with the names of, but they are the 3 substances used on death row inmates. Cause of death was heart failure, which means unless she managed to get a hold of all 3 of those herself, this case officially just became a homicide. We also find out that the one who called for the ambulance was actually one of the girls. With the kids, it seems a lot of scheming is going on. Chiden meets up with Champ while Tar is spiraling trying to get a hold of him. Jade and Kamen find Chiden and Champ. I'm not gonna lie, I ain't mind her at first. She didn't really bother me at first, but as I'm seeing her more and more, she's type annoying. Like she kinda pissed me off. I don't know, something about her. I'm trying not to judge, but something about her just irks the fuck out of me. I don't know what it is. Anyway, Chiden admits it was her who called, and after trying to play tough guy, Champ tells the cops that Tar has been blowing him up talking about a truth or dare letter. We also learn that Tar is a skeevy perv, and now I don't really care what happens to him. I don't. It's obvious to our cops that something is going on between Chiden and Champ. It would be obvious to a wall. They aren't really hiding it much. But after the talk, our cops head to the bar that Tar wanted Champ to meet him at, which of course is Drink Me. Before they can stop it, Tar is attacked by someone in a mask dressed head to toe in all black. The mask figure kills Tar and leaves a truth card on his body after he reveals he raped Poi Fai. Kamen sat down to talk to one of the students, but he seems panicky and on edge. Jade asked the girl Tar was gonna hook up with what happened. Neither were much help, Tongla or the girl Tar was gonna hook up with. After our cops get in the car to head home, we get the old seatbelt trick, which is always very smooth, but with Dunk and June, it hits different, you know? Something about it hits different. Jay tricks Kamen into staying at his place, which he should have seen coming because this nigga looked like he had a plan up his sleeve. He even had Jay helping him, so they type scammers, I'm not gonna lie. But Kamen had conditions, so they had to accommodate. The next morning, stop it y'all. GMMTV trying to kill me. We have Jung in a towel and Dunk in a nice fitted long sleeve rolled up and slats. Both looking absolutely scrumdiddlyumptious. I almost forgot what the damn show was about. Almost completely out the window. Mine and gutter. They have breakfast and ask Jay a few questions. Kamen brings up the kid that was there that night, Tongla. However, Jay told them that Tongla wouldn't go to Drink Me because it's expensive and the drinks suck. So why the hell would he be there the same night Tar was killed? With the group at school, they are asking about the truth or dare letters, and Tongla lets slip he was at Drink Me last night and the cops question him. However, when they press him about it, he panics and flees. Our cops go to Tar's place to look around. They find his truth or dare card and piece together someone is targeting the group, not just random one-offs. We move to see Tongla also receive their truth or dare letter, and this is what has him so spooked. Back with the cops, Kamen has to talk Jade off the ledge as he stresses over Jay possibly being next. However, Kamen is confident together they can find the killer. We see Tongla being a cocky little shit and taking a car that doesn't belong to him for a joyride. While not paying attention, he runs over a person and flees the scene. It's clear now what his truth or dare card was about. Back with our cops, they hand over the evidence from TARS to be processed and learn the motive and mechanism of kills is the same. Motive, revenge, mechanism, drugged then murdered. They put people on the kids to watch in case anything else happens, and what better time than now for Jay to give Kamen the lease agreement for his place. After, they head to forensics where they learn actual cause of death for Tar was massive blood loss. They get a call from their commander, who is really starting to get upset about why this case is taking so long to close, but they're doing their best, so this nigga needs to calm the fuck down. Also, I'm just gonna point out, not sure if it's different in different places, but a serial killer is usually 3 or more kills with cool off periods in between. So I would more consider this killer that they're dealing with like a spree killer more so than a serial. Also because it's very targeted. Usually serial killers have a type, but this is just they're going after the group, you know? So this is more specific than serial killer. And sorry y'all, my background's in forensics, so I'm gonna be a little bit more critical of shows that have stuff with forensic aspects to them. Not intentionally, it's literally just the stuff that's always in my mind, so just as a heads up. With our cops, the commander applies pressure and a time limit, which is crazy work because a week isn't much time to find answers. Not a fan of the commander, but you know, they're better than me, so. Jade and Kamen go have a chat with Champ, and he's just being a cocky little shit because his dad is backing him up. With Tonkla, he calls Chidin. We learn on the night Puifai died, he saw them exchange drugs, and this sends Chidin into a spiral. She's whining about how Puifai wanted to pull a prank on everyone, however she wasn't the reason Puifai died. One of the cops watching the kids goes to report what the kids are up to, as well as the phone call he saw. Jay calls Kamen and frantically tells him that Tonkla got a letter and he is unable to reach him. They find him being beat up by loan sharks and go back to his place to get the truth or dare letter. It apparently isn't about the accident, it's about how he was complacent in his friend's misdeeds. Once they leave, they realize Tonkla is still hiding something, and it may be the dare part of the letter, which would explain why the car accident was brought up, but he didn't mention it to the cops. The two ask Jay to dinner to get more info, but he doesn't spill. Kamen gets a call from a person named Nikolai, who works for Special Investigations. Seems their cases may be linked. Before he can head back in to tell Jade, he gets jumped by some randoms, and Jay comes out just in time to help him. After seeing all the chaos ensue, Jay gets nervous and decides to tell Kamen about the accident Tonkla caused. They are slowly piecing things together. As they speculate the next victim, we move to see Belle, who has received her letter. It looks like the person who gets their letter next is chosen by the last person. I'm just inferring from what I'm seeing. We get a cute moment between Kamen and Jade as Jade helps Kamen while he is injured. However, it's like a shitty sandwich. We have something shit happen before and then something in between to break it up and then back to something shitty, which ends up being the spree killer going to Belle's place to kill her, which is crazy because the person deaf broke in and I don't know how to feel about that. Back with Jade and Kamen, they have a moment while Jade is dressing Kamen's wound, and Jade takes a chance and kisses Kamen. He pulls back at first, and not gonna lie, I got kind of sad, but thankfully Kamen, after pulling away, realized he shouldn't have, and this time he went in for another kiss. As the makeout session progresses, Jade reaches further down and it seems to wake Kamen out of the lust-filled haze, and he stops it before it goes any further. However, once they both go their separate ways, they both have a hard time thinking of anything else. Also, I just have to add here, hearing Dunk speak English with a slight accent, sexy as fuck. I loved every second of it. I love hearing them talk in general, but hearing an accent, I'm obsessed with accents, bro. I really am. It's crazy work. Anywho, the next morning, the tension is high, but thankfully as they sit down for breakfast, Jay's constant questions help make it comical. The three go to the station together. Jade wants Jay to stay with them to keep him safe. Jay gets a call from Chidin that Belle is not answering, and he lets Kamen know she must be in danger. Little do they know. They go to Belle's condo, and the smell leads them to the bathroom where they find Belle's body. They call the forensics team, but so far there's no evidence to suggest that anyone else but Belle was in her place. The medical examiner makes it pretty clear he's feeling Kamen. However, Kamen is very clearly feeling Jade, and Jade is feeling the same, so of course he has to make Kamen show a bit of interest in him to feel satisfied. Once the scene is cleared, they head down to meet back up with Jay, who is devastated about losing another friend. They move to question Chidin and Jay since both had more to contribute to Belle's story. While looking through footage, they stumbled upon someone who might have gotten a video of what happened the night Belle was taken out. From the dash cam footage, they identify one trait. The person carrying out the crimes is wearing glasses. And it's very obvious that the person who's doing the killings is trying to frame Champ. I'm gonna leave that there for now though. We move to see Jade and Common in Common's office, and Jade can't help but push the boundaries a bit, and it seems Common is liking every bit of it. It's one of those, if you see this, leave them be, they're right where they want to be kind of situations. And ba-da-ba-ba-ba, I'm loving it. After that moment, they head to see the medical examiner to get the details of the body. And y'all, this doctor's thirsty as fuck. Poor Common is trying to nicely spur his advances, but this nigga keeps it coming. Pobrecito, he's just not taking the hint. Thankfully, Jade sees it and keeps the doctor at bay. Once home, Jade tries to get Common to talk about the kiss and the lease, and he isn't quite ready yet, prompting him to issue a timeline. In 3 days, he expects an answer to both things. There is a merit ceremony held for Belle since she doesn't have any family, and after Chidin goes to confront Tongla about his supposed protection of her. Sorry, I said that very quickly. After the merit ceremony, Chidin goes to confront Tongla about his promised protection of her. He shows her his dare card and proves that he is protecting her in his own way, and accidentally leads the detectives right to his doorstep. Now that they realize he was actually hiding something, they get the dare card, and as they make it back to the station, the medical examiner stops them to give them an update on his findings. After he tries to make a move on Common, Jade's not having it. They have to separate to continue the investigation, but before Jade leaves, Common gives him a warm goodbye that makes Jade feel a bit more validated and happy in his feelings toward Common. Jade gets a lead on a place to look for where the drugs are being sold, but while driving, he is forced off the road by another car. The person then steps out and introduces himself as Sanjay. Someone calls Common and basically says that they did something to Jade to teach Common a lesson, and he goes out to frantically search for Jade. We see Jade on a stretcher being taken into the hospital and Common overhead. So Common got to him in time, it seems, thankfully. I will say though, we needed to make him look more beat up. You know, he was supposed to have just been in a car accident, you know, got the shit beat out of him by some nigga named Sanjay. Why does Jade look like, you know, just good as always, you know? It's giving they only had enough to make the kills look really good and nothing else, you know? Which, come on, GMT, let's get it together. I'll talk more about it later. Anyway, Common speaks with Jay to get more info about the club, Wild Hunt, that Jade was headed to when he got ambushed. Common checks in on Jade at the hospital, and wrapped up in emotions, he kisses Jade. After that sweet moment, Common resumes the case with a vengeance now that Jade was caught in the crossfire. He gets some decent information on Wild Hunt, and he learns the Special Investigations Unit will be working on this part as well. Common goes back to check on Jade and finds him and Jade bickering with each other like fucking kids. He gets Jade to leave and they start talking. Jade wants to DTR, define the relationship. However, Common wants to wait a bit, so they will circle back, I guess. Common also gives a signed lease agreement to Jade, giving us a cute moment. However, Jade comes back and butts into the cuteness. Back at the station, Chidin, Tongla, and Champ show up. Looks like Tongla and Chidin are to be questioned again. Champ came for support for Chidin. Common questions the kids, and he's good. He was throwing stuff at them left and right, and important things came up. 1. Tongla has a crush on Chidin. Obvious, but whatever. 2. Chidin and Champ hooked up before Poifai died. Also obvious, whatever. 3. Tongla's accident was covered up by Champ. Makes sense. 4. The suspicion gets turned on time because apparently this nigga is nasty. He basically, non-consentingly, makes porn and is basically untouchable because his father's a fucking cop. I'm gonna say this right now. Chidin, I don't like her. Haven't liked her since episode 2. Something about her pisses me off. Just a feeling. Just got a feeling about her. I don't know what it is. Pisses me off. We move to Kamen receiving an invitation to Wild Hunt, courtesy of Sanjay. Jade tries to let Kamen know it might be a bad idea to go straight into the lines then, but Kamen is determined to get answers. Jade lets him know he's not the only one who worries, and they have a cute moment. As the investigation continues, the pair shows up at Poi Fai's parents' house to see if they can find any more info on what may have gotten the girl killed. Thanks to her mom, we come to find this poor baby was pregnant, pobrecita. They realize lots of pieces are still missing from the story, so they decide to speak with Jade. However, before that, Jade wants to get anything Kamen needs for his official move-in. Once they get home, they talk to Jay. Come to find out, boom, he also slept with Poi Fai while she was still with Champ. Another issue to add to the books. However, Jade doesn't take the news well, and they get into a pretty big fight about it. Kamen lightens the mood with Jade after Jay storms off. We move to the infiltration of Wild Hunt. Jade accompanies Kamen, and they have a tiny moment while hiding. Once out of hiding, they run into Yuki and Lee from the Special Investigations Unit, which for those who are familiar with GMMTV, you'll be very happy to see who these two are. I know I was especially happy because I actually did not know that they were in here. So, back in the club, as they're scoping the scene, Kamen gets dragged away to finally come face to face with Sanjay. As they are taking care of the club issue, we see Tonkla at the auto shop, and it looks like even after he played his turn, the bitch didn't care, and he's next on the chopping block. Poor thing, I'm sure he thought he was in the clear too. This episode went crazy, y'all. We got Kamen trying to get anything from this nigga Sanjay, but instead, he forces Jade into a fight, like death boxing match, while poor Tonkla has to play truth or dare with this annoying bitch, while whoever under the mask got him playing chicken with a car while asking questions, and he's not winning, let me tell you that. We start by watching the fight between Jade and this big ass muscly guy, and he's playing dirty. People keep handing him weapons, but Jade's holding his own. Once Sanjay realizes he's losing, he pulls a gun on Kamen. However, Kamen ain't no fool, and he knew that shit was coming. He had his own gun. Thank God. They start to fight as well, and let me say, after the accident scene, after the car accident scene, that was a bit of a letdown. So I needed the show to give me something to make up for it, and they sure did with these fight scenes right here. These fight scenes were active. I'm actually so proud to see how far Jung and Dunk have come. The fight scenes looked really well done. The moves actually looked like they followed through. So I can say this made up for that bum ass car accident scene. Sanjay uses the firing and his subordinates as an escape as Yu comes to help Kamen. Once all the shots died down, Jade wins the fight. Jade and Kamen are reunited. Since Jade won his match, Kamen agreed to sleep in the same room as him if he won. However, as he so rightly points out, although he did say same room, he never said same bed and promptly kicks Jade out of his own bed. He decides to be nice and lets Jade back in the bed, and they have a cute little snuggly moment together. After everything that happened last night, they still have no idea that Tonkla is dead and that Jay, who was going to see him, got caught up since he saw his death. They received the call, finally, about Tonkla's death and Jay being at the scene and rushed to check it out. They can see that Tonkla's legs were broken before the car was dropped on him, as well as the killer leaving a truth card at the scene. Not sure why, but I feel like they left that one as a clue. We just aren't sure what yet. At the hospital, Jay is coming to, and of course, though they are worried, they have to question him on what he saw last night before someone knocked him out. After speaking with Jay, Jade can't help but point out that it could be very possible that Jay is the killer and lying. However, Kamen dissuades this idea, and I have to agree. Jade does bring up a good point though, that it feels like the killer is always one step ahead of them, and if that's the case, the only options would be Time or Champ, since their fathers are both pretty relevant people. They meet up with Lee and Yu to discuss the drugs found at Sanjay's hideout, and we're able to see that the drugs the killer used were likely bought from him. Jade leaves the room to call an emergency meeting, and while gone, we learn what his relationship actually is with you and why he didn't stay on the investigations team. It's clear they are all very good friends and want to see Jade happy. After the emergency meeting, Common goes in to speak with Dr. Dimples from the forensic team, and we learn that Tonklaw's body had ketamine in his system as well, which looks to be the killer's MO. Since they are finally alone, the doctor tries one more time to ask out Common, but is shut down, and Common basically tells him he's already occupied with Jade, so it's not going to happen. Dr. Dimples takes it rather well. At the hospital, thankfully, Jade didn't suffer any brain damage. However, he still doesn't really remember what happened that night. Jay and Jade talk, and Jade makes some really good points, especially with how Jade feels about Common. Back with our two leads, they are having such a cute flirty moment as Common helps dress Jade's wounds. Common gets very bold and starts to try explore a bit, and Jade, flustered, stops him from moving any further down. We see a brief moment of time meeting up with the killer. He apparently was asked, or rather forced, to do something for them. I'm assuming in exchange for his life. Back with Jade and Common, they seem to be in a flow state right now and are just vibing. They talk, and it looks like they're stuck at the office due to rain. They get cozy in a bed Jade prepared and get to talking. They finally agree they are definitely something more than boss and subordinate and move into some spicy time. We start off with a flashback of what led Poi Fai and Jay to sleep together. Back with our leads, they seem very happy after their release and very playful with each other. They finally take a break from work and head to the pool, and it looks like we are in store for an almost montage of cute, relaxing, sweet things they do together. They move to a food stand and end up working at the damn thing because the auntie wants to go gossip with the girlies. But they have a fun time after they take pictures at a photo booth together. Also very cute. Their day gets cut short as they are informed that Time is missing. We see the killer has captured Time, and it seems they set up an elaborate torture method specifically for him. However, since the cops have been watching the kids, they found his car and are at the location where the killer is keeping him. Just as the cops are about to rush in to try and save him, the killer moves pretty fast and started the device that thrusts a knife into his neck literally seconds before the cops could reach him. Poor thing was literal seconds away from possibly being saved. They found Time's truth or dare letter and the account where he was selling his porn. They square all that away. While all that is going on, apparently Chiden's annoying ass finally gets a letter. She calls Champ with crocodile tears whining about some clinic, and after the call we find out Champ finally got his letter too. The cops go to confront Champ about his car that Time was using, and we find out Champ supposedly lent Time a car since his had broken down. Champ gives him a thumb drive and asks that he and Chiden be left alone now. It seems our cops know something we don't yet and head to a condemned clinic. I'm assuming this is one that Chiden and Champ were talking about. They manage to stumble upon a medical record for Poi Fai. They are slowly coming to the conclusion that Chiden and Champ may have been masterminds behind a lot of shady shit in that group. They run into a man who was trying to take and sell stuff from the clinic, and he tells them that a girl matching Chiden's description was last there snooping around. While listening to the recording Champ gave them, they receive a truth or dare letter themselves. And this stirs some tension between the two because it's clear Common wants to keep Jade safe, but after a clear threat from a killer, that is a lot less likely, especially if they get it wrong. So Common makes them separate to keep Jade out of harm's way, but knowing how this shit works, I doubt it will do much. Jade goes to watch over Jay as instructed. Jay tells him to go back to Common and stick together, so Jade does just that. He requests that Common explain why he's suddenly pushing him away so fervently. Common needs some time to gather up the courage to talk about what happened in his past, but once he's ready, he goes to Jade. Chiden and Champ go to see Jay in the hospital. They show him Chiden's letter, but it seems like Champ isn't wanting to let it slip that he got one too. Jay doesn't tell Jade that he met up with those two because apparently it happened sometime before Jade showed up when Common tried to separate them. With our main leads, Common tells Jade what happened with an old colleague back when he was working special ops. He feels guilty for his death and is scared the same thing will happen with him and Jade. Poor Jade is kind of forced to stand his ground on this case, and Common has to just come to terms with the fact that he can't force Jade away just because he's scared. They head to work and get another update on who was a buyer from Sanjay. Jade is still pretty sulky about Common wanting him off the case, so Common decides to take him boxing to, I guess, work and sweat it out. And I won't lie to you, that shit took me out because I genuinely was not expecting that. Was not expecting them to go boxing. They get some anger out and are able to actually talk, and Jade tells Common that he can worry, but he is not his ex-subordinate. They are much better now and back to being jokey and cute again. They get news that Sanjay is leaving the country and have to get to him before that happens. We move to Champ and Chidin and see they went on a quick shopping trip and Champ bought some knives for some reason. Chidin speaks up and grills Champ on whether he received a letter and if it asked him to kill her, would he? This nigga played it cool, talking about how, why ask when you know the answer? You don't trust me anymore? And if it was me, no nigga, I don't trust you as far as I can motherfucking throw you, and that ain't very fucking far. So, back with our cops, they are moving in on Sanjay, and they head into the building, and Sanjay sees his chance to escape, but Jade is on his bumper. However, this effectively separates him from the group, which was exactly what Common was concerned about. Jade catches up to Sanjay, they fight, but Jade gets pinned down with a knife, about to plunge through his chest. Common shows up just in time. However, he only manages to disarm him. Sanjay manages to get a hold of Jade's gun and takes aim to shoot them, and Jade moves quick and manages to shoot him before, but it's a headshot, so they won't be getting any more answers out of Sanjay. Once they're home and tucked into bed, sleeping, Jade seems to want attention and bothers Common a bit, but they end up snuggling together and falling asleep. Very cute. They head into work the next day and get news that Champ wasn't buying ketamine from Sanjay. It was actually just ecstasy, and it was only once. The ketamine leads them to Tonkla's dorm. However, Tonkla is dead, so there has to be a lead some other way. They receive the toxicology results from Poi Phai's autopsy, and turns out no ketamine was found in her system. Dr. Puth was the doctor who performed Poi Phai's autopsy. He brought the results himself. However, something feels off about him. When Common requested that, they send the body to the cops so that they can line them all up to look at them. With Champ and Chidin, it seems Champ's letter instructed him to drug Chidin and bring her to a specific location, and he does just that. However, on the way there, it seems the killer decided to put something in his car vents and drug him too. So, 2 for 1 special. Back at the station, Champ's dad, the police chief, and Common gather together, and Champ's dad, being a bitch, complaining about how they are bothering his son. Common makes a point to say that they are impeding the investigation and maybe his son is the killer, which gets a horrible reaction from Champ's dad, who slaps Common. And let me tell you, there's no fucking way they're better than me, because this nigga must have lost his fucking mind if he thinks he's not getting hit the fuck back. I would have sucker punched his ass in 0.5 seconds after I received that slap. Oh, I swear, when Common got slapped, I saw red. Not even kidding. I don't give a fuck who you are. Don't ever lay a hand on me. Ooh, no, I was heated. And then, even though he was the one who got hit, the chief's scaredy cat bitch ass has the gall to suspend Common. Jade is ready to go to bat for Common, but tells him at least one of them needs to stay on the case. Nah, I'm actually not playing, y'all. Somebody would have got hit before I left that room. Somebody would have, whether it was the father or the police commander. One of them was getting hit back, because you're not hitting me and I'm getting my lick back. I'm not doing that, no. Suspended or not, I'm not about to let somebody hit me and not hit back. I was always taught you don't throw the first hit, but you sure do you get the last one. I'm always getting the last hit. I don't play like that. That got me so heated. Oh my god. I can't even explain. And the people who understand me, y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. You don't hit first, but you best believe you better be the last one. You better be the last. Anyway, They go to the office, and as they're packing up, the bitch ass supposed to be their leader shows up to show his ass again. And y'all, anytime I see him, it's just gonna piss me off. I'm tired of this man. Tired of him. But they don't let him get to them. They know what they're gonna do, or they know what they're gonna have to do from now on, so they're good. Also, I'm very sorry about my mouth because it's just gonna be real crazy. When I get pissed off, I could be coming out my mouth sideways. And the whole suspension and Champ's bitch ass father got me all the way fucked up. So sorry. I hate entitled people with a passion. That had me feeling some type of way. So sorry. Jay goes to check out the place that Sanjay was conducting deals, and Kaman decides to tag along. Thankfully, they run into someone who they are able to ask where the room he was using is. They look around the room, and my suspicion of Dr. Poof was correct. That nigga's involved in this shit too. He's helping smuggle drugs out of the hospital. After they finish looking around Sanjay's stash house, they decide to go check Tongkla's room, which isn't very far. They find a recording device hidden behind a clock. Not only that, but they received a call from Dr. Dimples to let them know that Dr. Poof had resigned from his position. They had to speak to Dr. Dimples. Let me get the names right. They had to speak to Dr. Dimples, and he lets them know that not only did this nigga resign, but it looks like he also stole Poi Fai's body. Turns out she had a history of depression and was treated at that hospital, and it seems that Dr. Poof already knew her. He was actually her attending physician when she was being treated, and turns out he wasn't even supposed to be working the night that she ended up dead. Also, turns out that this nigga was dating her, and it seems like he is behind a lot of what has been happening. I'm actually kind of shocked because I didn't think he would have been a part of all of it, because they really did separate him from like all of it until the very end. He didn't play much of a part, and nor did they make him seem suspicious at all, you know? I still believe that someone else has a part in it too, because I don't believe that he was doing all this by himself, but it all seems to be tying very nicely towards Dr. Poof at the moment. With Jay, as fake news breaks of Champ having something to do with the drugs, Dr. Poof uses this gray area of time to sneak and pretend to be Jay's new physician. He manages to slip a truth or dare card to Jay without him even seeing. Y'all, everything coming out now, this nigga is an evil mastermind. He had cameras, knew everyone's moves, left nothing to chance. I'm honestly impressed. I wasn't expecting this at all. Now I'm just wanting to find out who helped him. They call in the special investigation team to help from this point on. Kaman goes to check on Jay, and of course, the nigga gone. He got that card, and I'm sure it had instructions for him, so he went to follow them. Kaman checks the CCTV and sees Dr. Poof leaving Jay's room, and not long after, Jay leaves holding the card he had received. Now the game is really on, as Jay arrives at the location, and he has to watch clips of his friends' wrongdoings as well as murders. Kaman goes searching for him, but right now it's looking a bit dicey for Jay. Jay comes face to mask with the killer, and it's finally asked the fateful question he managed to avoid up until now: truth or dare? As the cops find the location of the house to head to, Dr. Poof decides to show his face, and you know that means he fully intends to get rid of Jay before the cops get there. Jay has to make a choice, Champ or Chidin. One of them has to die. While this is happening, Kaman is on his way to Jay. Apparently, he was smart enough to put a tracker in his bag, so Kaman will inevitably get to Jay before Jay does. Hopefully, Jay isn't too far behind. Jay decides not to choose, and we get the reveal that Poi Fai isn't actually dead. And I'm not super surprised by it, because her death was getting real suspicious. It wasn't nothing like any of the others' deaths, so I was right that he wasn't working alone, just not about who he was working with. We see a flashback of what led to Poof and Poi Fai going on this massacre. And alright, bear with me over this next part, because a lot happens in this episode, so I'm gonna take it a bit slow. Back with Jay, he realizes Poi Fai is serious about his choice, and if he won't choose, then we just kill both of them. He finally picks truth, and Poi Fai reveals that although Jay didn't know about all the other nefarious things the other guys were doing, he did know that they planned to drug her. The cops are finally putting all the pieces together and trying to catch up with Kamen, who's not far off from Jay. With Jay, they tell him to make a decision, and because he can't choose on who should die in his place, it's time for his story to end. We hear a gunshot, but the screen goes black, so we're not sure who actually got shot. We move to see Chidin and Champ locked up in a cell as they learn why this is happening to them. There really is no saving themselves. They really fucked up with this girl, so I see her disdain towards them. I wouldn't have killed people for it, but you know, revenge is revenge, and everybody takes it out in a way that feels right to them. While they're all arguing and trying to figure out who dies next, Kamen finally arrives to an injured Jay. Jay warns him that it's Puth and Poi Fai who are behind all of this and about to kill Champ and Chidin. Kamen goes into the house to help, and Puth comes down to inspect. Just as Puth is about to see Kamen, Jade shows up and they move quickly. Poi Fai is watching Champ and Chidin fight to see who gets out alive. Champ had the upper hand for a bit, but Chidin takes it, and just as she pins Champ down, Kamen bursts in to stop them and end Poi Fai's game. However, Kamen is unaware of the fact that Puth had chemicals with them and seemingly plans to do something even crazier. Jade confronts Puth, and Puth gives him a choice, Kamen or Jay. Who will he save? And I don't know when this nigga had time to go out to scoop Jay up from outside, but like, he managed to go get him through all this. Don't know. While Kamen is dealing with the other three, Champ and Chidin, still locked up, don't listen to Kamen, and Champ ends up killing Chidin. Once that happens, Poi Fai decides to keep her promise and gives him the remote to unlock the gate. However, she never was actually going to let him go with no consequences, so she manages to get Kamen out of the way and pushes into the cell with Champ. While that's going on, Jay decides he's not choosing, he's saving both of them. So once he gets Jay out of the house safely, he goes back in to save Kamen. However, the doctor isn't having that, and he set up a bomb that he immediately detonates once he realizes he's not making it out alive. Once Jade gets to Kamen, we see Poi Fai grab a weapon and hit Champ with it. And just when she decides she's ready to go to jail, Champ gets up and takes her out instead. As this happens, the bomb goes off and our pair race to get Champ, the only other survivor, out of the house before it goes up in flames completely. At the hospital, we see Jay is recovering, Champ is in surgery. However, whatever Poi Fai cut can't really be saved, the nerves died. And Puth is actually still alive, just covered in third-degree burns. Either way, even if both of them live, they're going to jail no matter what. So it is what it is for them. Our pair decides it's finally time to take a break since they were finally able to close such a big case. We get a pleasant surprise as our pair goes on the trip. They decide to invite Yuki and Lee along as a thank you. And Yu brings Kamen's gear to officially welcome him back onto the force. Suspension done, bitch. Now, we get a cute trip with the four of them together. We get love, affection, happy times, and cute moments. What a lovely way to end the show. You thought, bitch. They end up getting a case. What better way for cops who enjoy their jobs to end their vacation, right? And it actually ends with the funny scene of our couple a year later deciding on places to visit, and then Jade trying to propose but the box won't open for some reason, and Kamen deciding to just toss it because they already know what they want. And now the show comes to an end. So let's talk about what worked. I can honestly say I was genuinely surprised by who the killer was. Didn't expect it. It was a very good murder mystery. It had some twists, you know. The storyline itself played out well enough that, you know, it kept you guessing on who could be, you know. There were some people that stuck out, but I didn't expect it to be the doctor from the beginning. So they hid that rather well. The chemistry between Jung and Dunk, love them. They're one of the top couples for me. Like in my list of couples, they're one of my top ones. Love watching them. Love their chemistry. Their chemistry is just as good as when I get to see Puin and Pond. So I enjoy them. I kind of like how they added the romance and the lightheartedness. You know, it kind of helped to make the show not so heavy. Although, for a murder mystery, heaviness is not a bad thing. You know, heaviness in a murder mystery can be very helpful. And, you know, wouldn't have made it bad had they made it a bit heavier, you know? Just saying. What didn't work? I would have loved to actually see more of Al and Boom's characters because I didn't even know they were supposed to be in here. One, and two, finally seeing them, they just kind of came in like halfway through the show and then kind of popped in every now and then, you know? But then they had them in the last episode, so it was like, why have them in the last episode as if they're like a couple but not actually build up the couple, you know what I mean? So like I would have rather seen more of them if they were going to do that, you know, just to build it a little bit more. They just kind of threw them in there and like together, or maybe, you know, there was no actual like telling. Certain reveals kind of felt rushed towards the end, which could have been fixed maybe if they had maybe added like an episode or two just to make it a bit longer. That way we didn't have to squeeze everything into just 10 episodes, which tends to happen. I have noticed that when they do less episodes, they tend to rush it towards the end. I don't know how their production times work, but this seems to be a reoccurring problem for like some of these foreign shows. In Thailand at least, because the ones in the mainland China ones, if anything, theirs are dragged out very long. Like they have like 14 to 16 episodes and their shit be dragged out sometimes. So I think with Thailand, their shows, because they're releasing them at such high volume and so quickly, they tend to rush a bit, which feels, I'm sorry to say, a little bit disingenuous, because if we are such a big company, I feel like we don't have to rush as much because, you know, you've given hit after hit. You can take the time to like make the production very, very, very good and solid, you know? Which brings me to the next point. The show itself fell flat at times, especially when it came to the effects. It felt like they budgeted for some more than others, and in a murder mystery especially as someone who, my background is in forensics, a murder mystery especially, falling flat, not budgeting properly, it feels wrong. If you're gonna take on something like this, murder mysteries are very complicated because you not only have to have the aspect of building the relationships between people in the shows, in the movie, whatever it may be, but you also have to somehow tie in different suspects and their relation to the killer possibly being them or the person who was killed. And when people get hit or accidents happen, I need blood, I need bruises, I need to see the actual bodies that are burned, beaten, and crushed, you know? And I'm not going to take huge points off for this because I do realize that censorship in other countries can be vastly different from the United States. However, I do feel that GMMTV needs to be accountable for providing the same quality to all their shows and their couples. One show can't look and feel vastly better just because that couple is more popular than another, especially with how big they've gotten. As a company, it's kind of crazy to see how little effort went into making the effects of the show really stick. Which, you know, I don't know how all this stuff works, but I'm noticing it's a reoccurring thing for some of these BLs, and I really do want to wholeheartedly love all of them, but it feels like some of them do fall flat in certain areas where they could be given either more production value or maybe more time to make the production seem better, you know? Like it all feels very rushed. And like you can kind of see in the velocity in which they're letting stuff out, like it's such a large volume of shows that they're letting out, especially lately, so quickly. I feel like I have no time to like catch up to it. So, you know, obviously they're letting shows out so quickly, they don't have as much time to like go back and be perfect with everything, which it feels like that's what's also making them fall flat. Not, I can't comment on it too much just because I don't know how all of this stuff works. If I knew how the entertainment industry worked out there better, then I could be the one to comment on it. But I am going to comment on what I'm seeing in the shows, and the quality sometimes falls flat in some versus others. Just my opinion. Nobody has to agree with me, but that's what I'm seeing. So, you know, I wish that we would, I guess, work on it a bit more. Just make it feel less rushed sometimes, or make it feel like we are putting the same amount of effort in every show. Like, I feel like Domandi does a really good job with that. It feels like in every show that I see, they do put a good amount of effort behind effects and every couple, and you know, it feels like they do try their best to make every show really look good. So I feel like that's, you know, if we have to let shows out less frequently, then let's do that. But like, you know, like I feel like GMMTV, there's so many couples, we kind of need to adjust maybe the frequency of how quickly we're letting stuff out, if that will help the quality, you know? Just my opinion. But because of how this one went, I feel like it needs to be addressed. Nobody has to care about what I'm saying. Not one. But I just feel like it needs to be said. Okay? All that being said, I have to give Dare You to Death a 7 out of 10 daggers. It's not bad at all, but it needs work. If you're looking for a BL that's more than just romance, Dare You to Death delivers a compelling mix of mystery, suspense, and burning chemistry. It's a fun departure from the usual heavy formula of a murder mystery, and it's a great watch for fans who enjoy trying to solve the case alongside the characters. Now, did you figure out who the killer was before the finale? I didn't. I thought I did. I was very wrong. Were you more invested in solving the mystery or watching Jade and Kamen fall for each other? And if you had to choose, would you pick Truth or Dare? Now, you do not have to like what I say. You do not have to agree with what I say. However, if you do enjoy watching, please like and subscribe. Leave a comment. Let me know. If you want to see something different, if you want to maybe test out something in a different genre, let me know. I'm also going to be doing GLs as well. There's just not as many of them, and there's a couple that I'm having to watch first. So give me some time on those. They will be coming, but there's so many BLs that are out right now that I have to pick and choose which ones I watch. So give me some time. The GLs will come. There's a lot of BLs right now, so we're gonna try to catch up on some of those first, and I will get to the GLs when I can. They don't come out with such frequency or volume as the BLs, so I can be a little bit slower on the release of those. But more to come, both of the reviews and the gaming. Whether you like one or the other more, doesn't matter, you have both options. But that's all I have for this one. So let's cut the feed, babes, because my work here is done.